I'm Chris Demetriou. I'm the Assistant Director of Corporate Fleet, Transport and Accessible Community Transport here in the London Borough of Islington. I've been doing this role for about 4 years. It's a hard one, it's a difficult one. The transition to electric vehicles, and we've got 550 vehicles currently on the fleet, is a big challenge, not only in terms of getting the right vehicles to the right services, but the whole infrastructure package that comes with it. Got over 100 full battery electric vehicles on the fleet already, and that consists of refuse collection vehicles, buses, sweepers, cage tippers, cars and vans. So yeah, a wide array of electric vehicles on the fleet already, but we've still got that big challenge of transitioning 400 or so more vehicles before 2030, which remains to be seen whether we can do that or not, based on our sort of financial limits at the moment, but we'll certainly give it a go. In terms of Magtec are probably the biggest drivetrain provider we've got on the fleet. So we've got around 7.5 cage tippers with Magtec drivetrains, and we've also got around 6 refuse collection vehicles, again with the Magtec drivetrain. The vehicles are very reliable. I think Magtec is a leader in this sort of technological perspective industry in terms of that repowering element, and from our experience are probably one of the best in terms of repowering vehicles and having vehicles that are functional and reliable based on the bespoke needs for these vehicles really. So it's a lot easier, Chris, with cars and vans, they're tried and tested, but for bespoke vehicles with different functions on the vehicles, with hydraulics and cage tippers and lifts and bin lift stuff, it's a lot more difficult. We always expect to be challenged in terms of these new vehicles, in terms of how functional they are, how reliable they are. So that element of after sales is really important, and that after sales is literally how quick can we get engineers down if there's a problem? How quick can Magtec or whoever respond? And touch wood, Magtec have been, have thought it through in terms of, yes, occasionally we are going to have issues, and how quick are we, how good are we at, getting there and repairing these issues? And Magtec have been really good at that after sales element. So yes, we have had problems with some of the vehicles, and again, like I said, we expect that, but the ability to get any issues resolved quickly is probably a good strength that Magtec have, which probably others don't at the moment. And it's so important in this game because it is new technology. We are talking maybe Gen 1, Gen 2 type vehicles. So that, yeah, a really important element. And I'm pleased that we've got a good working relationship with colleagues and engineers at Magtec. And if there is a problem, we know it won't, it's not a long wait before our vehicles are back and repaired and back on the road. These are working vehicles. These are frontline, essential working vehicles, and until you really put them to the test, you don't really know what can go wrong. And obviously, the drivetrain, massive importance on the vehicle, but it needs to talk to the rest of the vehicle, and sometimes that is the problem. It's talking to the rest of the vehicle, and again, it's not, if there's a problem, it's not always a Magtec related issue. So we've these cage tippers, the tender was done through Paneltex. It was an Isuzu chassis. We've got Delandia tail lift. So there's different elements that play on this vehicle, and every bit of the vehicle needs to talk to each other. And sometimes that's not always been possible, especially initially. So trying to decipher sometimes what the problem is the challenge, but having that ability to contact Magtec and say we've got this problem, and then linking the dots together and saying, right, it could be that, it could be that, this could be the issue, let's change the parameters on that or the settings on that, and we get there. But we absolutely understood these are new Gen 1 type vehicles, there are going to be issues. How quick we can resolve them is all that matters really. Come and speak to us, because we've been there, we've done it. We've still got a lot to do, but we've been through that initial pain of getting the vehicles in, trying to decipher what issues are, to the point where when we've got really good working relationships now with lots of our let's say our e-mobility suppliers, whether it's infrastructure or vehicles, to the point where we understand the problems, we've learned from them, and we are sharing best practice with the rest of sort of local authorities up and down the country by saying, look, we've done this, we were the first to do this. To some extent, we were the guinea pigs for lots of these vehicles, and maybe in hindsight, for me personally, I wouldn't have always liked to be that guinea pig, but we have been for whatever reasons, and the fact that we want to move quickly on this. But actually, yes, we have been, but I'll share, all the good and the bad that we've been through. So when other local authorities are ready to really crack on and move forward with their e-mobility journey, they are confident in doing so because we've done it here. And and I've given lots of other local authorities up and down the country all the advice in the world about infrastructure and the power you need and the types of vehicles. And I would be more than confident now to say to any other local authority who, for an example, might want half a dozen 7.5 cage tippers, electric ones, go and get these vehicles, because they are now functional, reliable vehicles that go out to work every single day with little or no qualms. And listen, you are going to get issues, because I've got a workshop full of diesel vehicles at the moment and a couple of electric, but it's the 2 electrics that get highlighted rather than the half a dozen diesel vehicles, because it's the newest vehicles and it's they're the most costly vehicles. But actually, we don't even really think about that anymore. We don't think, oh, it's an electric vehicle in the workshop, or it's got a problem, we'll resolve it as quick as possible. And we still get lots of vehicles on diesel vehicles, and the diesel engine has been here for 100 years or so. So you're going to get problems with vehicles, and it's not just the vehicle itself. It's all the other elements. Who's driving the vehicle, what have they done, are they using it correctly? And that's a bigger problem that we need to manage here in terms of maybe how these vehicles are driven sometimes. But it's really hard to get the vehicles and the infrastructure in tandem, really hard. So there was a big horror story in, I think, York Council maybe a couple of years ago, that they had 40 vehicles sitting in a car park somewhere, which they couldn't charge up because they had no infrastructure. And it's like, don't matter, you've got the vehicles, and to make sure and to see if that can run in tandem is really difficult. So it doesn't necessarily matter which comes first, but we had that problem here where we had enough chargers initially to the point that we'd run out of power. We couldn't get any more chargers in. That was fine. We only had a handful of electric vehicles. Suddenly, we had a lot more electric vehicles coming through the door because they were coming through. We didn't have the additional charge available because we needed a high voltage substation. So we spent a lot of time shunting vehicles to make sure they're charged. But now, and once the high voltage substation was built, we're in a much better position now, because we've got the power, we've got enough chargers, and as more electric vehicles come through the door, we can simply add a charger without having to worry about, whether we've got enough power or not. So what I say to other local authorities is, you're never going to get it perfect. It's never going to be in tandem. But if you do have enough power, then you can just simply add chargers as you get electric vehicles through the door, and also the right chargers, Chris. So you don't need dozens and dozens of like DC fast ultra rapid chargers if you're not necessarily double shifting vehicles or treble shifting vehicles. If the vehicles are sitting there and they're sitting there for a certain longer period of time, and maybe overnight, an AC charge will be absolutely fine. So having the ability to both AC and DC charge vehicles is really important as well, and that's probably the next consideration in terms of any sort of future vehicles we buy here. Because I think the cage tippers we've got here from Paneltech with the Magtec drive can only be AC charged, but in the future, on my wish list is to make sure we can DC charge them in case we do want to use them in the afternoons and in the evenings. So also at the time, Chris, to answer your question, and I've gone off in a bit of a tangent, is in terms of that 7.5 ton weight in particular, there is a lack of options on the market even now. So lots of local authorities do want that size, so that 7.5 ton cage tipper with a tail lift, because we're all doing the same work. We're all collecting mattresses and fridges and So we need more options in that weight class. And, you know, at the moment, Magtec is probably the go-to provider for that weight class, and which is great because now we know we've got a reliable functional vehicle, and you know, within time, once the budget allows, we'll probably get a few more of these 7.5 kg tippers through the door as well. So yeah, I'm much more confident now. And that's another important sort of stage of development for Magtec, really, having that ability to take on these warranties. Because actually, you know, a lot of, I'm not saying a lot, you know, if you're looking at a big refuse collection, you're always going to get other related issues, whether it's the hopper or the body. But not having to rely on that provider, on that on that supplier to come and do the works, and to go directly to Magtec and say, look, we've got this, you know, what we think might be a drivetrain related issue. And if you've got the systems that will tell you, yes, you're right, Chris, it is, you know, something to do with the drivetrain, and then have the engineer come and repair the issue. If it can't be, you know, resolved remotely, it's fantastic, really. And at the moment, there's a little bit of an anomaly, Chris. So we've bought the vehicles for, let's say, Dennis. We have to go through Dennis to, you know, make that claim, or, you know, report that defect. And then it gets a little bit complicated into, well, it's not, it might not be us, it might be Magtec. You're gonna have to pay a 250 quid fee for them to come and diagnose it. And it's like, well, I might as well go to Magtec directly. So now we're out of warranty with a couple of vehicles, we might just do that. And I think Paul's waiting to give me a couple of quotes back to extend the drivetrain warranty with yourselves, which I'm more than happy to do.